The following is intended for mature audience only. Viewer and listener discretion is advised.
Hey folks, P. Basardo here, and you're listening to the Smoke Free Radio Network.
That was interesting.
Hey everybody, good evening. Welcome back to another edition of Vaping in the Mic. We got one hell of a guest online this evening. But before I introduce him, there's something that I kind of put together that sums up an awful lot about this evening's show. And I'm just hoping that YouTube doesn't decide to slam it and say, oh my God, you can't do that. But we're going to give it a shot anyhow. To me, that kind of sums up an awful lot of things that we're going to talk about. And it brings me right into, and before I even go near it, if I don't unmute him, I will just kill myself. But it brings me right into introducing this evening's guest. A lot of people, you have seen him all over the place. You have seen this guy run around. You have heard about it. You hear him on the radio. The guy is everywhere. But tonight we're going to talk with just the guy. We'll touch on some of the things that he does, but this evening, please welcome Mr. Rod Cochran.
That's right. I'm taking these off because it's you and I tonight, buddy. It's Rod Cochran. That's exactly right, because I just wanted to hang out with you, man. I'm really love your show. I love watching your show, and I'm so excited just to be here and hang out.
Dude, I seriously appreciate that. It has been a long time coming, really, but I'm glad that it's finally happening. Hey,
absolutely.
I'm going to touch on one thing, and I played that clip. It's part of a song from Phil Collins called Both Sides of the World, or Both Sides. And it describes so many different things, kind of about you, what you do. You're on stage, the spotlights are on, you come to life in this persona that you have, and you do all of these things, driven for many different reasons, and then the lights go off, and you go home. And nobody really knows about you when you're home. They know all about the radio guy because you're on vape radio. Right. They know all about the persona,
right? The
Rod Man.
Yeah.
But they don't know about you. And that's why I put that together.
Yeah, absolutely. You're totally correct. It's funny because it obviously it is a persona. It's something that's little pieces of who I've been, different points of my life, exaggerated tenfold, if you will. But you're absolutely right. I'm just a guy that loves vape. It's basically made a decision to quit smoking cigarettes after years and years and years, and came into this industry because I loved it. My son, I'm a full-time single dad. My son was growing up, and I didn't want him to be without a father, and decided to transition to this and work in this industry. And I saw a way that I could give back, basically. And so that's what I did.
You and I discussed some of that on the phone the other day. And I remember I told you the first time I ever saw you was in full-blown, full character Rodman. And I turned and I looked at somebody and went, who the fuck is that? And they told me, and I learned a lot more about you after that. But it just, here's this flamboyant guy. You could walk across any expo floor and you're going to be somebody's like that, or they know who you are. It cracked me up because then I see some of the pictures that you have on Facebook,
Yeah.
and it's, to me, razor cut. There's Rod Man, here's Rod.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it cracks me up. You told me the other day, what were you doing before you got into the vapor industry?
Well, it's funny because I'd been, doing marketing, but early on, I was actually at one time in my life, I was actually a banker. Can you believe that?
Wow.
I was over at the special assets for Regions Bank all over there, South Alabama, Northwest Florida, and suit and tie, double-breasted suits, ties, briefcase, secretary, big office building. And we got a divorce and realized I didn't really want to be a banker, and so I took like a $15,000 a year pay cut to go be a radio DJ, and started at the bottom and worked my way up and made that dream come true, right in the middle, of my life, basically. Just did a complete 180 and did a complete career in radio, working in different places from, Lafayette, New Orleans, Louisiana, to Destin, Florida, to a morning show in Cleveland on WNCX there. And then I had my son, became a single father. Obviously things changed and I got into marketing and stuff, but it's been many lives, many different things that I've done, actually. And I found myself in the vape industry. And again, because out of necessity to quit smoking and for my son, and then just finding an industry that really is full of amazing people, amazing opportunity. We've been through a lot, this industry, especially here lately. But I would say, the biggest thing is I still look back now and go, this has been a great thing. This has been a great thing for all of us. We've all saved other people's lives as well as our own. I know it's made a big difference in mine.
Here's an odd question for you. You're talking about being a radio DJ.
Yeah.
What is the difference to you between being a radio DJ and being a different kind of announcer? Or because I've heard people say that there is a distinct difference in the style of being a radio DJ versus being a news announcer, anything like that.
Oh, absolutely. Being a radio announcer, radio DJ is, it's a lot to do with vibe and feel. It's something where people can work, like with music, you want it to be easy on their ear. You want them to enjoy listening, it to motivate them, to give them feelings one way or the other. But, it's a really a one-on-one medium, because you don't listen to radio. Like when I'm on the radio, I don't talk to all the people out in radio land. No, I'm talking to you and you alone. It's a one-on-one thing. That's how we hear radio. And so it's a very intimate thing, really, even though it's a very public thing, Did
it ever bother you in that medium if people were not paying attention? They've got you on. If you're on the radio, they're playing the music, they're hearing it, but they're not really hearing what you're saying.
Oh, absolutely. And that's the ego in all of us. Anyone that's in radio, you want everyone to, of course, hinge on every word you say, because you're putting that kind of effort into it. And when you really care about what you're doing and the art of it, you put that kind of passion into it. So of course you want them to listen. But then you also have to remember, that, radio is kind of like wallpaper. You don't miss it unless it's gone, telling someone that the other day, we were speaking about the condition of the vape industry, and what if vape radio wasn't here? And I said, it's one of those things where it's there and they listen to it and they enjoy it, but maybe sometimes they don't get to listen to it. Sometimes they do. But if it was gone, it would make, much like your, smoke-free radio. People would really, it would send signals throughout the industry, and really, they would notice then. And that's when you don't realize what you have until it's gone.
Yeah. Tell me, the first time that you ever, two of them actually, that I'm curious about. The first time you ever walked into a vape store.
Yeah.
What was your impression?
It wasn't the place for me. Honestly, I walked in to a shop here locally, and literally I was looked at as if like, what are you doing here? You're in the wrong place. I literally felt like, okay, there must be a drug transaction going down here or something. And I walked in on it. That's what it looked like, because everyone just kind of stopped and looked at me, and I'm like, yeah, I'm just looking. And they're like, what are you looking for? And I'm like, I'm not really sure. I smoke. And they're and it basically, they blew me out of there, and I walked out like, okay, yeah, that's probably not something. No, obviously, I have literally been back into that same vape shop since then. And it's funny because they don't remember, but I do.
I'm sure. It's a culture shock for so many people that are looking to transition from cigarettes to vaping.
Yeah.
If they walk into the wrong vape shop, it's
Yeah.
culture shock. They will walk in and go, "What the fuck is this?"
Right. And there's all different types of shops. And that just happened to be the one that I walked into,
Yep.
just in a random, day. And, but it did, it sent a signal to me, but I didn't give up. I went back, obviously to a different place and was able to get hooked up. And then, of course, I started working with Cyclops Vapor after I started vaping and doing marketing for those guys. And just really enjoyed going to the conventions and working the booth, doing the marketing, coming up with all the graphics with the gods and the artwork. I was working with the lead illustrator from the Gods of War video game on the different characters that we would use. I mean, it was really, really fun stuff. But as I was going to these conventions, I started noticing that at the advocacy panels, it was just kind of a ho-hum event, where there would be some advocates giving some really great information, but there wasn't a large crowd around. There wasn't a lot of people paying attention. People were shopping, walking around just as if like there's guys on the stage talking, but whatever. They just kept going by. So I honestly was like, well, what can I give to this industry? What is my skill set? What do I have here? What's my gift? And coming from radio in the background that I did, I said, you know what, I can go and MC this for you and help you out with this, and maybe help round up people and get some excitement around the stage, so that we have some people that then hand the mic over to the advocates and let them do their job with the crowd and actually get that message out. So that's how everything started.
That's where Rodman, the persona, was born.
Well, actually, I've been the Rodman for a long time. That's been my radio name for years, since probably
really?
1992.
Wow.
And it's funny story I'll tell you about that name. When I went to work at this radio station, WGCX, Rock 104, it's first radio job, well, second radio job, but first full time. The radio programmer says, well, what are you going to call yourself? So I'm going to go by my regular name, Rod Cochran. He said, well, no, that's way too phallic. We're going to call you the Rod Man. I'm like that's not? So anyway, since 1992 or so, that's been my name. So obviously you're branded and, so you stay with what you came with. And so the Rod Man came to vape, basically.
When you started grabbing an audience for the advocacy panel, this is back in the day, okay?
Yeah.
You had people on stage, and I never got to witness this, I've only heard. You had people on stage that were up there hyping their line, hyping whatever hardware, liquid, and they were throwing stuff off the stage into this crowd, right?
Yeah, I've seen it. When I first got into it, that was pretty much the standard show. That's what people were doing.
And as soon as they would announce and say the word advocacy, that crowd would dissipate horrendously.
Yeah, it was like the Red Sea split.
They were gone. So I can understand where you come from.
Just they checked out.
And it had to be annoying. Because
absolutely.
The advocacy people that are going to stand up there are trying to educate the people that are out there what the hell's going on in the industry.
And that was the hardest thing, because when I first got into it, that had just that was the very, end of that time period. And when I started helping with the emceeing, that had stopped. And, that stopped shortly thereafter. And it was always like, well, man, this is so hard. I'm like, so-and-so could, they could do a big crowd at that other show, at their show. And you're like, yeah, but that was when things were different. Mm-hmm. If you throw out free stuff on the stage, you're going to have a packed crowd, no matter what industry you're in. I mean, I'm from Mobile, home of Mardi Gras. We have an entire holiday dedicated to catching free shit in the middle of the street. And it's all worthless pretty much, but it's the fun of catching it. So, I mean, I understand that mentality, and anybody can do that. I could put my 10-year-old on the stage and throw free stuff out, and there'd be a crowd.
Yep.
A monkey could do it. It's can you do it without that? And that was what had to be, overcome with doing it, is how do you get that crowd up and overcome that obstacle without just unloading free stuff? And to me, that was, you've got to be entertaining. You've got to use your voice to inflect excitement and get people riled up and get people excited about coming, and, that they're missing out and they have to be a part of this. And, we're not going to get started till everyone gets here. And, it's, of course, I've been known to offer free beer from time to time at a convention, and that tends to work as well. Just saying.
When you started getting people a little bit more excited, a little bit more, drawing that crowd in, Was it harder than you anticipated then?
Yeah, yeah, it was. It really was.
Were you
Because they had been
surprised?
so accustomed to free, tons of free stuff. And honestly, advocacy is probably one of the hardest things that I've dealt with, period. Honestly, just from all angles. I mean, it's got pros and cons, but it's so worth it. It's so needed. Someone has to do it. And again, there's the people, I don't even consider myself an advocate. I just consider myself helping the advocates, the people that actually know that it's information, and to get a crowd for them to be able to deliver that message. But you're absolutely right. It's very hard, and it continues to be. There's never been, the show that it hasn't been, something to get a crowd up there, but we do it.
Yep. Were you surprised by the actual apathy that was in and inherent in everybody?
Yeah, yeah. It's true. And it seems like anytime the FDA would drop some new announcement or new thing or whatever, it was reliving this pain all over again. The vendors they're down, the consumers are down, and it takes its toll to keep people up and positive, and it's hard, it really is hard. I mean, I look at my good friend James Jarvis today, and Frank K. Hall and those guys at the Ohio Vapor Trade Association, knowing as hard as they've worked and done everything right, and to still have those outcomes. And that's the toughest thing about this completely, is to go out there and give it your best, and it just still not work out. And it just reminds me of that Rocky movie, the saying, it's not how hard, you can hit it, it's how many times you can get back up,
Yep.
And it gets harder to get back up every time. And I could see it in my good friend James's eyes today, man. It was tough, but we do it. You get back up, dust yourself off, and go on.
And it's true. In Ohio, they just passed a devastating 10-cent per mil tax.
Yeah.
A lot of people hear that, but they don't understand. Just really quick.
No.
Behind that, the shops have to pay to buy a license to sell, just like a tobacco store. Okay, I can get that. But then every wholesaler has to pay and buy a license to wholesale in the state of Ohio. Shops are only allowed to buy from licensed wholesalers. The wholesaler then has to collect the tax and remit it to Ohio every month.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God. And I've been fielding phone calls and chats, during the day.
Sure.
Is this real? And I'm, yeah. How did this happen? I thought OHVTA. Whoa, time out. First, were you a member? No. You lost all your credibility right there. Why are you complaining?
Right. And it's harder to get, people, it's easy to sit behind a computer and like we do, I do it myself and we all do, and we sign our petitions, things like that. It's another thing to get up and be active and actually do something. And when you see people actually doing that, like James, and doing the footwork and doing all that part of it as well, and then coming out with a decision like this, it's just a travesty. I think the governor there in Ohio should just, I would definitely, guys in Ohio, be looking to vote his ass out.
Yep.
That
That's enough about that, because I'm not spending much time talking. I want to be able to just to chat and talk and listen.
I appreciate it, man. Like I said, it's always been great to see your show. I always watch it. You and Brent with Regulator Watch are two of my favorites. I'll be honest with you. Even in all of my years in working in radio, you guys are as professional as it gets. I know your voice is amazing. I would hire you at any radio station.
I appreciate that because it's me, because I listen to it all day, all the time. It is very difficult for me to understand, truly. I get it. I understand the technically. Technically, I understand, but I don't see anything.
It's a great show. So I'm happy to be here. So, yeah, you can ask any question you want. How about that, too?
Nothing. We're going to get to that. We're going to get to that. Because there's a couple. I noticed that there was somebody that had called in. I didn't get a chance to get to the phone line. I was going to say, whoever's on the phone, hang tight. But for people that are listening, watching, if you want to call in, you've got questions for Rod, the number is 215-383-5752. Do you know I had a lady tell me that I sounded like the guy on Movie Phone?
Hi, thank you for calling Movie Phone.
Tonight, showing on Screen 3 at 4:15, 4:30,
well, this whole vape thing works out. You and I maybe should look into that.
I went, are you kidding me? So anyhow, if the person that was on the phone, if you want to call back in, I'll pay attention to the laptop. It's all the way on my left-hand side. Let's talk about Expos for a minute.
Yeah.
Just geographically, Have you seen a better turnout in one part of the United States versus another? Or are they kind of just a hit and miss as it goes?
It's a lot of hit and miss. I think over the East Coast down through the Southeast, I see the vape over the last couple of years. It seems like that's really been where a lot of the growth has been, and a lot more of the activity. People really excited about it, which is typical. I mean, you see things starting out in California and working their way across the coast, and it same seems like they're so bad in California. You look in the Southeast, maybe the East Coast, outside of New York, obviously.
Yep.
But it's getting tougher here as well. But yeah, with the expos, the turnouts, large part of it has to do with the cities that they're in. A lot of times, the larger the city, there's lots of other things going on, lots of other options. I tend to like the mid-size, smaller shows, to be honest with you. You have more time to talk to people and get to know people, and they just seem to be really great shows. Like Midwest Vapor Expo's got one coming up, and just where it's at, it's just a great spot to be in, and of course we got Vapors Carnival coming up next weekend. I'll be out there in Raleigh, North Carolina. Looking forward to that show. That's one of my favorites to actually do there. But no, it just the turnout, you can never tell, it really, and sometimes it's things that are not what you think they are. It doesn't really matter who's on the billboard, whether it's me or anybody else. What it has to do with is people putting on that show. Do they go out and put in the footwork? Do they go visit shops? Do they go and literally talk to these shop owners and involve them? Because if you're a shop owner, you're going, why would I tell my customers to go to a vape convention where they're going to go buy a bunch of e-liquid and not come back to me? But the difference is, say something like Vapors Carnival, for instance. And mind you, they don't pay me or anything to say this. It's just what I know from doing different shows. They go out to these shows and they take these boxes with free passes and things, but they also get to know these shop owners and care about what that shop owner's doing. And like my dad used to say, people don't care how much you know till they know how much you care. And when Ronnie Everett, Jonathan May, guys like that, they go into their shop and sit down and visit with them and see what they are doing and what their mission is and what they're about, and show them how they're not inviting them. They want them to be a part of it and to bring smokers out and convert those smokers while they're at the expo, because they get their cigarettes, they get a starter kit, they get an escort like James Jarvis or Mark Anton to escort them around and teach them about harm reduction, battery safety, corporate. So they get them to show them the benefit that they're creating new customers for their vape shops. That's what that show's all about. So they tend to have a great crowd because of that, because they have that community involvement.
Yep, and that was one of the things that surprised me about the Vapors Carnival, the amount of legwork that they do. Every expo attracts their crowd in very different ways. It's just interesting to me to see how they do it. We've got the phone call return, so I'm going to put them on the line here real quick, if I can remember how to. That's the fun part. Area code 828, you are on the air with Mike and Rod Cochran. Are you there?
What's up, Rod?
Hello.
Man.
Who's this?
Mark Bird.
Mark, how you doing?
What's up, brother? Speaking of, there's the man that started this thing, man. I remember the first time he came and talked to me or called me and we talked about the Vapors Carnival. I'll be totally honest with you. I was like, for smokers, a vape show? Really? I honestly, and the first show was probably one of the worst shows I've seen. And the second show was one of the best shows, and it has just continued to grow since then. So he was one of the founding guys that started that, in fact. And I, like I said, got a lot of respect for Mark.
Oh, well, I appreciate that. I was just calling to say hello. I know this phone number doesn't get used that often, so I wanted to use it just to say hey to my buddy Mike and to my buddy Rod, and y'all keep on doing a good work.
I hear you got something big coming up in the works too. I was just seeing before I came on the air here, man. Hopefully we're going to hear something big from you soon.
Yeah. I'm working on something with Kevin Price and Chad Jones, the guy from Snooze. He did SnoozeCon last year, and working on some stuff with him, but we'll see how that goes, man. It's one day at a time with that.
Good deal, man. I love you, brother, man. Glad to hear from you. I know you and I both, man, we take the road very hard when we do these shows. I know that we've done a lot of shows together. I mean, he and I know my health and his health have always been an issue when we've done shows together. We're both like, so it's always great just to hear from you, man.
He's always,
yeah, man. It's good to hear from you too, man. I've been out for I've been away from the microphone for a little while, but taking care of some health issues. And
I might need to tag with you and let you do it. I need to go to the corner for a while. So.
I can't hear you.
You can't hear who, Mark?
Hello?
Hello?
I can't hear Rod that well. It's kind of distorted.
It may be my line.
Hey, you're coming through pretty good. It may be because the radio that we have, the phone lines are sketchy at times.
Oh, you know what? Hold on.
Oh, I got you.
Does this sound better?
No, it's probably. It's no big deal. No big deal. I just wanted to call and say, hey, man, keep on streaking and love you, brother.
Love you too, brother.
Thanks for calling in, Mark. I appreciate it.
Have a good one, man.
You too, brother. Yeah, streaking. That all started at a Vapors Carnival. Well, actually, that started at Vaping J's in Auburn, Alabama, at a vape show, at a vape shop that they started. And we raised $5,000 for advocacy. So I just figured at my age, if anybody wants to see my naked butt run across a parking lot and was willing to donate $5,000 to advocacy.
That's what I wanted to ask you later on, but since it's been brought up, I could not believe, because there was some video and there was some things on social media, and I'm like, oh my God, what the hell got into this man's mind? Because my understanding was it was a snap decision. Somebody said, hey, I'll pay money to do this, and there were a ton of people that started doing the same thing.
Yeah.
And
Don't threaten me with a good time. Especially if it's for advocacy. I mean, honestly, and I'll be totally honest with you, when that came down and the people started, up in the ante money-wise on what they would donate to advocacy, I kind of was like hoping they had shaved Jay Hardesty's beard off. And that was actually the original, thing. He really is the credit for it, him and Megan, because they were raising money for that. And then I said, if we can get to this amount, I'll streak naked, and I'll be honest with you, I was being funny. I had no intention of doing that. And then when they did raise the amount, someone reminded him, said, well, Rod's got to do that. And, being a man of my word.
You were, because I saw this quick video of a man covering his privates with one hand and this ass streaking across the video. I'm like, I did not just, yes, you sure as hell did. You just saw that. I'm like, really? It was amazing. But again, I believe that's more your persona that was there than you, the reserved guy.
Oh, absolutely. Again, inside I'm going, oh God, I'm really going to have to do this, but I mean, we've done it there. We did it at the Vapors Carnival, I think in the last one, at Chattanooga, I believe we did it. We've done it in Denver, at Castle Rock Vapes, and we raised a lot of money. In fact, the money we raised in Denver helped start, that was like their first 3 months worth of funding for the Rocky Mountain Smoke Free Alliance, Mon Vaughn and those guys. So it literally, she teared up, was like, this literally pays our bills for the first 3. So at least it gives them a jump start. We did that for the Tennessee Smoke Free Association, donated money to those guys. Richmond, when we were there, I try to meet with whoever the local state advocate, leader is in the group, for the state, and find out what they need. I met with Jay from Virginia when we were there, and he's like, I need memberships. I need members. So all weekend long, we made that a prerequisite for getting on stage or doing anything, and made a real hard push to get members. Other states like Mon Vaughn's, we're just starting out. We need to pay just to exist right now. Okay, let's raise money. And just try to do whatever we can do to, again, people to get, money out of people. First, you got to get their attention, first and foremost. So that gets their attention. It's fun. Everyone laughs. And it all goes to a good cause at the end of the day. And if that's what I can contribute, maybe I'm not as intelligent as the Mark Anton or but I do what I do. That's my gift. Somebody wants to pay money to have thousands of dollars advocacy, see my 48-year-old ass run across a parking lot, then God be it. Let it happen.
But again, that's you in your persona enjoying.
When I come home, it's an entirely different thing.
See, that's what I want to ask you, because you get home and that guy gets left in the car in the garage.
Yeah.
Because I don't think that Julie understands it. Julie gets what's going on, but she doesn't want You almost remind me of Jim Carrey in The Mask. Two very different people,
Right.
split persona. That's why I said both sides.
Yeah.
But when you get home, what do you do to relax?
We spend a lot of time with the kids. Julie and I spend a lot of time outside. We put up a complete pool this year, and it's, I'm not vape balling, so we put up our nice above ground pool, but it's nice. It's ours. And she fixed it up nice. She's planted plants. We go out and work in the yard. We go fishing together. She's been a huge blessing in my life because I was, like I said earlier, a full-time single dad, and it would just been me and a 9-year-old, 10-year-old at the time that we met. He and I had been just by ourselves for a long time. And, that was my life. Every bit when I left, if I wasn't on Facebook or doing something vape related and I disappeared, I'm with my son. That's what I was doing. It was always he and I. Now Julie's here with me. She built coils for years with Red Hot Coils. She knows more about vape than I do. And her and her son, Owen, and we kind of made a little blended family here. I come home and you're right. I enjoy the downtime. But, I think it goes back to my radio days that anybody who really believes their own hype and really thinks that, and really thinks that there's something, like that, never could be successful in radio because it immediately goes to their head and they're out of it. They don't realize that it's a professional, much like you said, it's a different face. It's like you don't see the clown walking down the street with, going home with his big red nose on. Yep. At the end of the night, Kiss takes her makeup off and puts their pajamas on and eats a little Debbie and watches the news. And it's a job and it's what I do. The entertainment side, again, it's all based in being entertaining, but at least like the vape radio, being informative, helping with advocacy. It all goes back to that being advocacy driven. But when I come home, it's all family. I enjoy my time being at home and just not being the rod man, and going to the grocery store where I'm just, doing normal things,
And that, it would be interesting to be a fly on the wall to see you being Mr. Normal. Sometimes, because I think people would go, this man's schizophrenic. Yes, he actually is, in some way, because you've got that spark of madness in you.
Yeah, well, it's a spark of something, it's just a way to make bipolar work for you, I guess, huh? It's, it's just, again, it's a job. It's something I've done in regular radio. I've had people come up to me and they go, oh, you're famous. I'm like, no, I've been doing radio things for a long time. This doesn't mean anything. This is what I do for a living. As far as it's the valuable stuff to me is the downtime with my family, the friends, the relationships that I've made in the industry, just being me.
I was trying to hold back a choking laugh because Paul Blabmeyer from Australia is in the chat and he said, Gene Simmons eating Little Debbie sounds strange. True.
But yet it does sound like Gene Simmons, does it not? Eating Little Debbie?
Yep. It's crazy. And here's Patrick going, damn, now I want a Little Debbie.
Right.
Mm-hmm. See, now you're driving. Wait until the people that are having the munchie time after their 420 are going to hear this. Do you know what's stupid?
Man, I killed a whole box of Little Debbie's watching Mike Peterson last night. Who was the guest? The Rodman. Imagine that.
I am such the square white guy. I think it was about a year and a half ago. I had to ask my son, Alex, because I kept seeing 420 this, 420 that. The 420 road sign on the California highway kept getting stolen. I asked, what the hell is 420? He goes, Dad, you don't know. No, Alex, I don't know. If I knew, I wouldn't be asking, would I? He goes, it means weed. I'm like, oh, my God.
You're the guy at the radio station on the AM side.
Yeah. Yeah. I should have a button-up shirt and a fucking bow tie. And big, thick.
No, those are always some of my favorites because they actually have news talk and things like that, and stuff that was actually real information and great quality shows like yours, where we're over there playing yin yang twins and playing fart jokes. We're not saving the world. What you guys are doing it's really important, and
It just made me feel like I need a nerd pack and my pens and my big Coke bottle glasses and.
But it's true. It's. I'm a nerd, it's for, you would be amazed. It's, this weekend I'm looking forward to taking my son and taking the boys and go into wrestling,
Really?
Yeah, and just in fact, they don't even know it's a surprise. So I need to be quiet. But just things like that. I love spending time at the beach. I love fishing. I love detaching from social media. That's become a big thing here with me. Again, vapes take so much out of you. It had gotten where literally I was feeling like I could have a heart attack. It's just so consuming and stressful, and you're fighting and going and going and going to literally to take back a piece of myself. I literally have to sometimes just detach from social media, the phone, everything, and just be present in the moment with Julie, the boys, and just, be present there. And I think all of us, especially in this industry, could really, benefit from doing that.
It is,
honestly.
Because and you're very correct. We become so engrossed that I often find myself, I'm up in the morning, take a leak, get something to drink, and I'm turning on the PC to see what has transpired.
Right.
Trying to keep up with.
Yeah.
And it drives me
nuts.
It
is. It can be a 24/7, industry. And I feel for, a lot of people in this industry, we've been through a lot. I mean, a lot. I've worked in a lot of industries, and radio went through consolidation and corporate, takeover, and all the mom and pop radio stations going, and how radio once was is no longer. That's one of the things that's funny about vape radio. I don't think people realize is they actually have live radio, because there's not very many live radio stations left in the United States at all at this point.
Really?
Everything is syndicated and brought in from somewhere else. It's just cheaper for them to do that.
Like the Bob and Tom show.
Right. And to actually have a live actual show just dedicated to vape, that's a lot of content. We do about 10 hours of content a day. I know I do personally, just myself. That's a lot of content. And there's, unlike YouTube and things like that, there's no replay. If you miss it, you miss it. So sometimes it's the funniest joke and no one ever heard it, but it is what it is.
There's still a live show here in Youngstown. AC McCullough and Kelly, and it's AC and Kelly in the morning.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
And I've been listening to him for years.
Yeah, and that's great when you have stations. In fact, our radio connections have been a big benefit to us, even in the vape industry. Like just recently in Ohio, the Scott Sand Show was able to connect James Jarvis with him. He's a guy that we've worked with in radio for years. Real professional news talk guy, but has a nice show that's sent out to a lot of stations, news talk in Ohio, and for him to take up that and get I think Lieutenant Governor on the phone yesterday and put him on the spot. I mean, he really stepped up for vapors, and he's a guy that really didn't know that much about the vape industry. He smoked cigars and vaped a little on the side just to keep from smoking cigarettes, but he just had a small device and he's kind of dabbled in it. And when we came to Toledo for Midwest Vapor Expo, I wanted to go over and promote, so I brought James with me, and we were able to introduce him, be on his show, and talk about vaping and things like that. He came to Midwest Vapor Expo, walked around, met with a lot of the vendors, and really got a feel for really what this industry and what we're doing. And he seemed to have taken that up, and that's been we need more of that. Just people out there that have a voice in other areas that necessarily aren't vape like you or I, that just have a voice in somewhere that can actually speak well of vape and harm reduction and what we're trying to do,
And that's important, because we're going to need it over the course of the next couple of months. Rod, we're going to take a quick break because I need to do our sponsor slot, because without our sponsors, Smoke Free Radio could not do what it does, and I couldn't do what I do. And that
I would be vaping 5 ponds like I'm vaping right now.
There you go. We'll be back here in just a couple of minutes, folks.
Hey now, this is Dimitri with Smoke Free Radio, reminding you to please show some love to our wonderful sponsors. Without them, there would be no Smoke Free Radio, and they are as follows. All the way from Florida, Moon Mountain Vapor, with locations in Florida, and their liquid available for wholesale and retail, moonmountainvapor.com. Some of the best custards and tobaccos on the market from the Brickwills Vaping Company. The lovely Shell with a vapor bar, locations in Texas, Virginia, and West Virginia. And of course online at thevaporbar.com. And who says you can't have award-winning e-liquid without cartoon characters? That's exactly what you're going to get at theplumeroom.com. And finally, of course, the Vaping Advocate magazine that has generously provided the telephone lines for you to communicate with us. Thank you for your support. And finally, for you, the listener, don't forget to check out the coupons and codes page on Smoke Free Radio. Pick up some e-liquid and save some money. From all of us here at Smoke Free Radio, thank you for your continued support.
Hey folks, P. Basardo here, and you're listening to Vaping and the Mic with Mike Peterson.
Coming back from our sponsor slot here, this evening we have the wild guy, the wild child from the vapor industry, Mr. Rod Cochran. But this evening we're just talking with Rod, and I'm seriously, I'm enjoying this more than I could probably even express.
It, man.
Here's an odd question for you. When you sit down and watch movies, what's your general genre that you watch?
Comedy.
Really?
Yeah, comedy. Imagine that, right? I used to like other things, horror movies. I like science fiction. You know, I like the Marvel stuff, of course, you know, being a guy. But overall, I would say comedy. I've watched a lot of things, but, you know, I'm 48. I'm almost 49. And I've got this stage where it's like what I put in is what I get out. And it's stressful is what we deal with on a daily basis. If I'm going to sit down and watch a movie, I would really rather laugh. You know, I mean, Julie and I'll sit and watch something and just crack ourselves up. And but comedy, I would say, definitely would be the number one option. Yeah.
That kind of
James
surprises me.
Put out their new trailer today. I just want to say that does that not look like me and Pablo? It really does.
I've got one other thing that our sponsor slot is almost outdated. I need to mention Demand Vape with the Juno is sponsoring the Smoke Free Radio Show, and also 80 Volt with John Glauser and John Nathan and Steve Sapier. Thank you for your support, gentlemen. Big time.
Yeah, absolutely. They both, I appreciate their support as well.
I was talking with John Nathan, and he's going to hit the show here as his schedule can allow within a couple of weeks. And he and I are going to have one of those conversations where I honestly don't know what's going to happen. Because he is a very
John
vocal
probably
person.
Doesn't either.
Yeah.
I can tell you, and I love John Nathan, but it's so funny because, like, I know we did we did a show recently where we did he was going to speak on the advocacy stage, and getting ready to go up, there were a lot of speakers there, a lot of really good speakers there, and he was really nervous about it because he was thinking that, like, I don't do this. And he is so amazing at it. And I told him, I'm like, you have it, brother. You really need to use what you have, your speaking ability, and really go. And I love seeing him doing what he's doing because he really does. He's really talented. He really is.
And that's huge because I've been to a few different expos. Our first one that we ever attended was in the middle of PA, small expo. And it was my first real eye-opening to the industry because I saw people coming in right after work from, the bank that had the suits and the ties, and they would unloosen their tie. And then the people, normal people, jeans and T-shirts, and people in skimpy shorts and earrings and tats. And dude, Alex and I just sat there for the first 3 hours, didn't even approach anybody. We just sat going, oh my God. And then the cloud comp hit, and you could not see more than 3 booths down the aisle. Yeah. And we're like, what the hell is this, So it was eye-opening. So let me ask, what was one of the first large eye-opening things that you ever looked at, experienced, or witnessed?
At a vape expo, at a vape show?
Anywhere like that.
Anywhere in my life? Oh, wow.
Well, anywhere,
we'll keep it to vape. Anywhere
within vape. Yeah, we're not going to talk about your whole life. I would need a therapist after that.
Wow. I can tell you, I mean, I've seen a lot of great things. A lot of people, the veterans that come in that have smoked for years, transitioning over and converting, that, were smokers and now they're vapors, like Julie's dad, he's paralyzed from the waist down and he's a vet, and he'd always smoked. And it's literally saved his life. And, to me, those things are like little mini miracles, because I never thought I'd ever quit smoking. I literally, Pablo says, when you saw me at the radio station, I literally had a cigarette hanging out of my mouth all the time. And so I know how hard that is. And to see that this is work yet again and again and again, to me, is amazing. And I think, that can't be lost in all this. I always, think, when I look back over the vape industry, no matter what happens, no matter where we end up in this thing, in 10 months or whatever, we've done something pretty damn amazing. We've made history, because there was a time when I never thought that the rates of smoking would be as low as they are, that people would have something that actually worked, unlike the gum or the patch or Shantex or any of that stuff, and this has literally changed the world, and we've all been a part of that. And no matter what happens in the future, I think all of us, should think about that's been awesome. This hasn't been, it's easy to get down in this industry, but it's also, we've done something here. And anytime you do something, it's, something this monumental and life-changing, it's not easy usually, but something has definitely happened worldwide with this little device that is working at record numbers to get people off cigarettes. And that's freaking amazing.
Hands down, 100% agree.
Now, the freakiest thing I've ever seen at a Vape Expo was at Vape Showcase Pittsburgh. We happened to be in the same convention center with a furry convention. You know what a furry is, Mike?
No, I'm almost afraid to ask, but what
furry is a lifestyle thing where apparently these people dress up as furry animals and like to run around as if they are animals, and they do funny things with each other. And I didn't know about it either. I literally had to Google it in Pittsburgh. I'm like, really? This is what they do? And this is the largest furry festival or convention in the United States. It was the same weekend as our convention. For once, the vapors were the conservative group. Literally, we're good. We're really good.
Wow.
But it was ironic that when I was in the hotel lobby at the hotel, the ladies explained to me how these people come in every year. It's the largest furry convention. She said that they literally put litter boxes in the rooms for these people, because if they don't, they will defecate on the floor. So I'm sitting there with my vape going, now you mean to tell me that you put litter boxes in the room for these people to shit on, but I can't vape in here?
Oh my God.
And they even had a furry rave. It was quite the sight. So we were the conservative bunch at that convention that year. So, but it was a great show for the Finnies. They put on a great show there at Vape Showcase Pittsburgh.
That sparks a little bit, because my son tried to talk to me once about furry something, and I didn't understand what he was telling me. Now it clicks, and
might
it's
want to
like,
double check that cookie browser. Huh?
Oh my God!
The education of Mike Peterson tonight on
Dude,
Vaping in the Mic.
I'm telling you what, I get educated every single week that I talk with somebody about something. Here I am.
Well, I'm that guy in the locker room going, "Hey, you seen these?"
Do you want to see this? No, I don't want to see that.
Things, though, in the vape industry, but that was probably one of the more ironic, strange things, But it's
have
good.
you ever been to an expo that was just either so atrocious or so out of hand that you didn't even want to be there?
Yes, I have. I've been to expos where it's just been, there's products that should not be being sold. There's not, it's marketed horribly with, things on, their child appealing, et cetera. And, but yet we've been brought in, and you're trying to do, be the advocate and do the right thing. You want to say something to them, but the show promoter doesn't necessarily care about that. And I worked really hard, especially with one show, to get it up, to guide it more towards advocacy where it had nothing to do with advocacy before. And, and it's just, that's kind of the thing, is making sure, that the vendors there are compliant. But then again, there's the place has to make money. The vendors have to make money, but you can't be non-compliant. So it's trying to walk that line and go, look, we don't want you to leave, but you got to cover this up or do something different. And those kinds of shows are very uncomfortable, because you kind of feel like the bouncer,
Yeah. And I've heard some of the horror stories, from different expos, different things.
Yeah. I've been brought into a vape shop before. Like they've paid me to come in and do a cloud comp and come in and everything and make an appearance. And we get there and there's literally Candy King on the shelves and things like that. And I literally stopped and said, I won't do this. I will leave if you don't take that off the shelf. And why do you have it on the shelf? And of course, we had the conversation. They took it down and we had the event. Who's to know if they put it up, immediately when I left. But I mean, it puts you in a real precarious situation when you're always talking, this is what we don't need. And then someone pays you to come and puts you in a position where, you're going to have people take pictures with you in front of Candy King bottles. I mean, nobody wants that, No. And it sucks because people don't see that side of it and trying to make, you got to do it right. And that sometimes penalizes you big time. I mean, I know that, we turned down a contract with Vape Radio by, someone that was spending money with us, a large amount, on a large year-long contract. And we told them that if they didn't stop selling Candy King or pull it off their website, they couldn't continue to advertise with us. We were going to have to drop them. And we hoped they would do that, but we knew they probably wouldn't, and they didn't. And we did have to drop them. But you have to back it up, and if you're going to say it, you have to back it up, and that hurts a lot of times,
I can only imagine about that. In all the expos that you have done, is it just me, or are you seeing a dwindling crowd over a period of time?
Especially over the last couple of shows, it seems like generally overall it's getting smaller. It depends on the venue, especially venues that haven't had a show before. Seems they have a large turnout. Venues where there's been one there already, maybe two already. It's a yearly thing. Yeah, the vapors say, we've been to that. We know what it's about. You see less of a turnout. And again, if you like this show coming up next weekend in Raleigh and right in the heart of tobacco country, see there should be a large turnout for that.
Right.
A lot of times it's doing that homework on where the show is, and the big name city necessarily isn't the best. It's doing your homework and realizing, what is the demographic of that metropolitan area, of that city? What's the makeup of smokers? What's what's it around? What other available entertainment options are around? Because you want, if you're the biggest show in town that weekend, obviously you're going to draw.
When you get done with an expo and you finally get to put your feet on your own carpet at home, what do you do to relax?
Julie and I, man, like I said, we will hang out, sit outside, talk. We, swim in the pool, just relax. We listen. I'll actually check in on the other DJs periodically on Vape Radio, make sure everything's going smooth there. But we spend a lot of downtime. Believe it or not, I watch a lot of news. I watch a lot of comedy stuff, a lot of, things like that. But her and I will play games together. It's funny. I never was a big baseball fan. I think I played 1 year in high school of baseball. I know the game, but I didn't like watching on television. With Julie and I have got this thing where we play a video game, baseball game, and we've played one game a week for an entire season for forever now. And,
really?
And it's just, and she plays a game, then I play it, and we're on the same teams, and she's a Cardinals fan. And it's quirky, it's silly, but you know what? It's a great way we just sit there and spend time with something that's frivolous, and it takes my mind off of all of vape and all of this. It's been an hour or so just sitting there looking at something completely different.
I'm going to ask you a really odd question, simply because I'm curious. Do you read a lot, or is that just an occasional pastime?
No, I used to read a lot more than I do now. My eyesight has gotten really bad. I have diabetes, and I'm in denial about needing glasses. In fact, I think I still have Austin Hopper's pair here they let me borrow over at Vape Showcase Houston because I couldn't read the winners of the flavor contest. So And it's a really nice pair of glasses, I have to say. But so that's hampered, my reading a lot, just simply for that. I'll read a lot of stuff online or, notebooks, but not as much as I would like to anymore. But that's always been something I was big on.
What genre did you read?
A lot of autobiographical stuff, history, things like that. I still love documentaries, the stories of, autobiographies or whatever, that people put out, or regular biographies. I like hearing things like that, even if it's on an audio book. I love that, the story of life, the history of life, the good and the bad,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was just curious because again, people get a snapshot of you
right
while you're working.
Yeah.
So
my online persona obviously is my work persona, and it's like you said, you'll see a snippet of me with my kids or doing something that's like, okay, there's Rod. And it's funny because the more I've gotten involved in vape, my actual family and stuff obviously pay less attention to what I do online because they're like, whatever, it's doing that thing again, But no, it's very much. I'm 40, almost 49. I'll be 49 next month, and at this age, you come home and you enjoy the quiet moments, the slow time. I took a vacation this year and took a week off and literally did nothing. I'm traveling already everywhere all the time. So, Julie and I were like, let's just stay here. We worked in the yard. I just disconnected from everything and just got back to basics of just, let's go fishing. Let's cook the fish that we caught and let's work in the garden. Let's, swim. Let's, spend time, being present with each other, in nature and at home, but not connected socially, on social media.
And that's, here again, we touch on the same thing. Being able to back away from social media is huge.
Oh, yeah. And even the expos, I'll be honest with you, Vapors Carnival probably will be perhaps one of the last expos I'll be actually doing. I know that's actually go here first. High likelihood, I think I'll be in Tampa. Vapor Mania. We haven't got that totally finalized yet, but I'm pretty sure I'll be there. But these may be the last two shows probably I can see. I don't know. It just depends how this industry, what goes on, what's next. I'm getting older and it gets harder and harder. Thank God for CBD. It's funny. I have diverticulitis real bad, and the diverticulitis had gotten so bad at the end of last year, the first of this year, that I literally was in so much pain going to any show, whether I was flying, driving, or anything, that literally I would honestly need just about a half a day of just, getting my guts right once I got there, and literally a liquid diet, just soup. I mean, we're at Vapors Carnival, Oklahoma, and I had nothing but soup and pudding. And, for several shows, that was what I lived off of for several months, simply for the fact that my diverticulitis was so bad that I honestly needed to go in and have surgery, and I still do. And that's, something I'm looking at in the future. But CBD, honestly, when I first heard about it, I was like, this is some snake oil stuff. No, it's not. It's legit. I use 1,200 milligram, and it's amazing. It's changed my life. It's given me a new lease on life for a while now. Wow. Every morning I take it under my tongue, and it literally makes a difference. It really does.
Curiosity, how much do you take at a time? Like
Julie, how much do I take at a time? She feeds me like a baby bird, and I'm not even lying.
A dropper.
A dropper full every morning. So
is that her in the background?
Yeah.
Julie, come on. Come say hi, because this is a lady, and I've been watching. It's not stalking or anything. Hi, Julie.
Hello.
It's not stalking or anything, but this is a lady that, to me, has changed Rod's life. Okay.
Oh, definitely.
And I've watched as this has progressed. So when I saw her and I had a chance to chat with her earlier, I'm like, yeah, I want to stop and say hi. It's awesome. And what you do, Julie, is just fantastic. Truly.
She has totally made a huge difference in my life and my son's life as well. Like I said, all my effort, everything 24/7 was vape and raising my son. That was it. Now, for the first time in a long time, I'm able to take a breath, and, she's doing things with the kids. She walks them to school. She helps them with schoolwork. I'm able to kind of take a breather and actually come up for air,
Wow.
Which is what we all need.
Yeah. So I'm thinking about renewing her contract for another 6 months at this point. She's done such a good job considering it. I mean, I don't know. She makes good sandwiches. So
you just going to dig
awesome. She really is. And you know what? She understands what I do. I mean, I've been like in regular radio. I've dated girls that would be like, what do you got to do? You got to go broadcast from this nightclub, and you're going to be there till 2:00 in the morning. And, and it was all, it could make it very complicated in a relationship, where she totally understands it. Like, no, go do what you've got to do. Go do your job. I'll be here when you get back. And, that's been a huge blessing for me and my son, literally.
I've seen some of the pictures from Vape Radio while you're in the studio, and I know just by what she's doing, she's working her ass off.
Oh, yeah. No, yeah.
And I'm like, wow.
She's amazing. I'll go to a vape convention. I'll come back, and she's built a complete new dining room set. You're like, well, I wouldn't even do that. I would never do that, I told her she's like the perfect mixture between Martha Stewart, Jenna Jameson, and Tim the Toolman Taylor.
Fake Ramsey in the chat room turns around and says, Julie is what really saved Rod's life. And I, honest to God, would agree.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. She's helped my health considerably. Again, I was literally physically about to I was going to have emergency surgery, and I was in bad shape. My diabetes, literally the bottom of my feet, I could not feel at all when, a year and a half ago. And, she's helped get me in a lot better diet, a lot better, just rest and just a break, at time. She spends time with the kids so I can actually, recuperate, and she takes care of a lot. She's been a huge blessing. So.
Wow. And a lot of people in the chat room are saying hi, Julie. So make sure that.
Hi, Julie.
Yep. Here's another one.
She's been great, and again, it's funny because we met at an expo.
Go figure.
She wanted to take a selfie. I gave her more.
Yep. I'm not going to play with that one. No. Pass. That's trouble. Good. You are trouble on 2 feet, damn it.
I'll make sure we get right to the line, but we will never cross it. You're okay with me, man. But you know what? And that's the thing about it is being, bringing. We were talking about expos. Is when I started doing it, was just trying to. There's a lot of things that go on at expos that people have no idea, because you got to think we're up there. We're usually on the stage broadcasting with Vape Radio, so everybody comes to us, vendors, consumers, or media people that show up and want to videotape, and we're the ones that typically deal with that and make sure that those things are handled, and the show and the industry is put, in a good light and presented, and everything's taken care of. And I got to, on that note, I've got to give a huge shout out to Matt Elliott. When I was starting to get where I couldn't not do these shows as often as I wished, he really started getting involved. I kind of passed a little bit of that torch off to him, and the job he did with Barstool Media coming in there, thank God he was there, because the media, that's why you need a professional to keep that kind of media from even coming into a venue. But thank God Matt Elliott was there and able to intercept that guy and put him straight and turn a negative into a positive for this entire industry, because that could have been very, very, very cataclysmic if anyone there other than Matt may have talked to him. I mean, who knows what what they could have ran into and have been on that social media with 2 million views. It could be negative stuff very easily. It's very hard, to walk that line and get those messages across, especially when you have someone there toying with you like that, hoping to catch you, trying to trick you. And hats off to Elliot for taking that torch, running with it, and just doing better than I did. So he
did a hell of a lot better than I ever would have. I would have just.
I think I would have punched him by then. I'm surprised Matt didn't.
I would have jack slapped him pretty hard.
But it's important to make sure you catch. I mean, honestly, that media should have never even been in there. It would have been something that you've been like, you're going to have media credentials before you can enter here. But thank God that Matt did, engage with them. And I mean, again, he turned a negative into a positive. So.
Yep. Here's another odd question. If you could vacation anywhere, where would you want to go and why?
I've seen most places that I want to visit. But I would have to say, if I could pick anywhere to vacation, it would be Paris. And I'll tell you why. It's because I have no desire to go to Paris, but Julie does. That's like her life dream. She wanted to go to Paris, but she had her son instead, and it kind of changed life. So yeah, if you were to ask me anywhere I wanted to go, that's where I'd want to go, because Lord, I live at the beach, so I don't need to go to the beach. I've been go to Denver, see my boy Captain Nasty and Cloud Queen out there, and Vapes Castle Rock, and I go out to Sunset Strip in LA and see Vince and those guys and Matt Tibbetts, and so I've been to all these different places. So yeah, I go to Paris. Take her there; she deserves it.
It's an awesome place, I'll tell you that. I was there when I was young. You got to go tour. You do all the tourist kind of things. And
I know just a little French. Bec mon chou.
Don't even know.
Yeah, that may be some Cajun French, though.
The biggest things that I walked away from Paris is they have very small cups of coffee because it's espresso. It's not even coffee.
Oh, yeah.
It's like road tar poured into your little cup, and one of those.
Yeah, I've seen it. I don't drink coffee. I'm not a big coffee drinker. I don't drink coffee at all, actually. When Bubba, he works at Vape Radio and he brews coffee, he's always trying to push it off. I'm like, I don't drink coffee.
Yep.
But apparently it's good. People like it. But I'm not a coffee drinker.
Yep.
I drink my Rockstar, Rockstar. I was hoping to get an endorsement by them. They sent me a refrigerator, and that was it. But yeah, so I do have a Rockstar cooler, it's one like you see in the gas stations with the little small round ones. But
yep,
we got it in the studio in Vape Radio. That's my coffee.
The second thing with that, when you get to Paris, make sure you go to the Louvre and look at the Mona Lisa. because it is so damn small.
Really?
The Mona Lisa is only a painting this big. That's it.
Are you really?
I shit you not. Go online later on. Anybody, go online, check it out. Look at the dimensions of the painting. This painting,
Story
it was
that thing with the star. It says, "The more you know."
Yep. It floored me because I'm
That's
expecting this.
yeah.
You know, the hype of it is huge, and it's this little tiny painting behind glass. It's like 4 inches thick. It was just, it blew my mind.
Maybe that's why she wants to go. Again, I have no desire to go to Paris, but if I could pick anywhere for vacation, that's where it'd be. So she could go. So maybe
It'd be awesome.
I'll make sure she sees the little Lisa.
It is. It's so damn small. Anyhow, believe it or not, we have absolutely wiped out an hour. It goes by so damn quick. So I'm going to close because I know you've got other things you got to do and you got to get ready for your evening. If you had something that you wanted people to hear, both in the chat room and on the replay on the podcast, what would you tell them?
Chin up. Be positive. We've all been through this. This has been hell. It's been hell for all of us in some shape, form, or fashion. There's been pros and cons to all of it. Again, going back to what I said earlier, we've been a part of something that's been a miracle, that's going to continue being a miracle long after we're not involved in vape. Me, you, any of us, Fig, my buddy there, James, any of us, this thing is going to go on forever. And there's going to be, no matter what happens, there are going to be millions of lives saved from these devices. And it's something that I never thought I would see in my lifetime, is the numbers of people quitting smoking with this thing right here and actually working, unlike the gum, the patch, or any of that other shit. And we've been a part of it. We've made history. I mean, it's been hard, and it's been hard for all of us, but never forget the fact that what we've all been a part of is something that is going to live on long past all of us and is going to benefit families all across this United States, the world, that they're going to have a grandparent alive, a mother alive, a father alive, a brother alive, because they vaped. And our little brick that we contributed to that wall that made it happen, it may be a little tiny brick and it may be insignificant. What I've done, I run around and act like an idiot and streak. I haven't done anything compared to the Fig Ramseys or the Mark Antons or you, or Dimitri or some of these guys that have been doing, so many things for advocacy. But each one of our bricks build something that's way beyond all of us. And no matter how tough it is, whether like in Ohio, we're taking an ass kicking, or New York with a flavor ban or whatever, these are little small things. But overall, the battle will be won. People will quit smoking because of this, because I don't believe that vape's going anywhere. Who owns it may change, but vape, this Pandora is out of the box, and it's not going to change. There's too much money to be made with it, and lives will be saved because of this right here, and we were privileged enough to be a part of it.
That's extremely well said. I appreciate that. Yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, folks, in the chat room on podcast, you've been listening and watching the one and only Rod Cochran. There is no doubt. I appreciate you taking time to be on the show to get a snapshot of you.
No, I appreciate that. I appreciate you having me on. Again, you're one of my favorite shows to watch. You and Brett with the Regulator Watch are my two favorites, and it's just I think you are way more talented than you even realize, Mike. I think you you have bigger things that you do, but I think you could make it. If this whole vape thing went away, you've got a career in radio and broadcasting regardless. And I think, honestly, I would love to have you anywhere, any radio station I ever worked at. I think you're a great talent and an asset to this community and this industry.
Well, I seriously appreciate that.
I really do mean that. So.
Well, I appreciate that, Rod. That means a lot. It's just, again, I'm a guy with a mic and time on my hands.
Right.
Doing something
you're easy to the ear, and I think that matters a lot. Like I spoke with earlier about Amanda Wheeler and what she's got going on over there is, her voice. There's something, and there's things about tones of voice. Her voice resonates calmness, but passion and still determinedness. It's almost like a mom calming us down. Your voice is a lot of the, same thing. It resonates. It's nice to hear, and you need to keep doing it.
Well, I'll keep doing it until somebody boots me off the air. That's for damn sure. All right,
that's
folks.
it, man.
It has been a great hour plus a little bit of time. Again, you've been listening to Rod Cochran. Rod, tell me, if you will, your day job, if you would, let people know where you're at.
Yeah, vaperadio.com. It's a website, also a mobile app. We're basically music for vape shops or just vapors. You can listen to it in your car. You can listen to it anywhere you want. Take it with you. It's music, a little bit of everything. We play everything, we vape everything, and we talk advocacy and keep you up to date on a minute by minute, because we're able to go live with it. It's not something later on you're going to read about. It's literally something that we can talk about as it happens. And we just encourage everybody to come over. It's free, vaperadio.com.
There you go. All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us here on Vaping in the Mic. You've been listening to Rod Cochran. I'll be back again next week. We'll have somebody else who we'll be talking to. Until then, Rod, thank you. And I'll catch up with you again soon.
Naked?
Everybody, I hope everybody has a great night and a great weekend. I'll see you next week.